Hi, everyone. Welcome to Jeremy's first book release for his book, The Gatherings. This is so exciting. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Megan Morrison. I am a longtime friend and writer colleague of Jeremy's, and Jeremy and I co host the weekly short story podcast, Nobody Reads Short Stories, every Monday. And I'm just here to give you guys a little intro for Jeremy before his book reading. But before we get into that, I want to tell everybody who's here tonight to please put your name in the comments section so that we'll know you're here, and that will automatically enter you into the book raffle, which we're going to have after the reading. So just if you go over to the comment section that's over on the right hand side of the your platform, then you can just add your name there. So Jeremy, for those of you who don't know, is a wonderful writer. He and I both graduated from the MFA in Dramatic Writing program at Carnegie Mellon, and in addition to all the wonderful screenplays that Jeremy has written, he's also a playwright, and his play Will Always Have Paris was produced at the Kennedy Center, and he's also had plays produced out here in Los Angeles. And it's just my honor to introduce him tonight. Jeremy is a longtime friend, a longtime, very dear friend, and I'm just so excited for his book release. You know, he's such an authentic and raw and wonderful writer. So without further ado, here is Jeremy Ray.
Megan, you just turned me red. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for everybody for listening. I'm a little late myself, so if you're coming in late, Megan said to leave your name in the comments. We're going to have a book raffle. It's going to be some of my favorite books, not just my own, but some of my favorite reads. So make sure to check that out. What else are we doing now, Megan?
Well, now I think everybody wants to hear an excerpt from your book.
Okay, so I'm going to do an excerpt from my book. It's not going to be somebody else's book. It's going to be mine. Just a heads up, the protagonist is a lady. I don't want to try to be a lady with it because it's kind of insulting to women if I do that. Right, Megan?
That's right. Don't do a lady voice.
Don't do a lady voice. So I'll get her energy, but I'm not going to do a female voice on this. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Okay, I heard a bunch of people screaming, so I'm going to do it. All right. The Gatherings. The vines appear to have wiped out all of human civilization. Not just civilization, everything. They've taken everything. It took less than 24 hours for the invasion to happen. Invasion feels wrong somehow. It's certainly not a nice word, but I need a word that brings on a particular kind of terror. Does a word even exist that can do justice to the apocalypse I lived through? When it started, it was like a pandemic, except whatever this infection is did not seem to behave like an outbreak of any virus or bacteria our planet has seen before. The word plague conveys the dread of it, but there is no word, at least in the English language, that brings on the correct connotation of sheer horror. It started with the gatherings. The gatherings. I was wrong. There is something that evokes that horror. Writing those two words makes the pen shake in my hand. The gatherings will live in infamy as long as humankind exists, but who knows how long that will be. A group of 5 others and I have jumped from house to house scavenging. We decided to come back here to this old 2-story house and sleep. No, shelter for the night. They're taking shifts to keep watch, but I'm sure none of them are sleeping. Like me, they nod off to their nightmares of what happened. We turned back to this house because it seemed less entangled in vines. Like the one house untouched in a tornado destruction zone, this one seemed to be chosen to remain intact, mostly. Sure, a vine has broken through here and there, but not to the degree of the other houses. If you pinch your nose, you can hardly smell the stench of decay in the air emitted from the vines and all the life forms they have consumed. In most of the rooms, anyway. I'm in the study. There's a broken window that brings in the vine smells from outside. In the attic where the others are staying, there's only the faintest scent of death. I assume that's why the others chose to rest there. They say that I'm being unsafe, but I'd rather see my foe coming than be surprised once again. I bet you, dear reader, are wondering why I'm not staying with the others in the attic, in the room they call the secure room. Number one, human civilization might be wiped out, but that doesn't change the fact that the 5 remaining people that we know of are strangers to me. Number two, they're fucking morons. There is no such thing as a secure room anymore. And number three, this paper and pen. I don't expect the others to understand, but maybe you will. When I looked into this study, saw the desk, this paper and pen, it gives me the same feeling, no, illusion of control they get with their guns. Each of them wears armor that consists of motorcycle helmets, bicycle pads for their elbows and knees, and any other sports gear they can get on themselves. They all have guns and knives strapped on every part of their bodies, including even the 70-year-old woman, a retired kindergarten teacher. They look ridiculous. I have the urge to laugh every time one of them shows the others how to improve their fighting skills. None of them have experience with fighting, but I resist the urge. If their protection makes them stand straighter, feel safer, who am I to take that away? If they want to pretend they're action heroes, more power to them. It's just not my gig. Writing was my only talent on this planet. I can't tell you how happy I was when we discovered this study. I never thought I'd get a chance to write again. And then I saw this pen and this paper on this desk. So here I scribble away, maybe for the last time. We're surely a doomed species, but I'd like to be able to share my knowledge with someone on the off chance anyone survives and finds these pages. I'd be lying if I said the broken window and the sour smell of decay doesn't make me uncomfortable. The lighter the night gets, the more I smell them. I'm wasting too much time leading into the story. My editor would be pissed if she were alive. Emily, get straight to the juice of the story, Shirley would say. But she's not here. And I'm pretty sure she and all human civilization have been wiped out. So I can do whatever I want. But Shirley, in your memory, I'll get to it. Please forgive me in advance for any typos, corrections, and any times I may backtrack in the story. I'm a writer who depends on edits to make my work good, and I'm afraid there's no time for that. Some people mentioned how strange it was that celebrities, politicians, and other prominent figures started advocating for a day of unity that they called the Gatherings. It was set to happen September 21st to celebrate the International Day of Peace. People all around the world were to hold hands at 12 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Nobody knew whose idea it was. The idea seemed to sprout out at the same time all across the globe. But it made sense. There was such social discord that the idea was a relief. Sure, there were conspiracy theorists who said it was a plot of the Illuminati, but most people didn't question it. And I had thought that was strange, especially since some people, we in California, for example, were getting bad deals on time. Who in their right mind wants to wake up at 5 a.m. to hold hands with strangers? Not this girl. But the time was never debated, and since I didn't hear anyone else, no, anyone but crazies questioning it, I rationalized it away too. You'll probably already know this, but were living in politically turbulent times. Our national leaders had been behaving like petulant children, one country hacking into another, infecting the populace with lies and false information about each other. It was exhausting. People were fatigued. We yearned for relief from all the negativity, and people holding hands across the world seemed right. Was such a beautiful picture to imagine. At least it was before the gatherings happened. I had no intention of going. I was perfectly fine waking up and watching them on TV. No, from the safety of my own home. I'm not much of a people person. I guess I'm the stereotypical writer who locks herself away from society. The thought of talking to strangers makes me want to curl up in a ball like a roly-poly. Monica, my yoga instructor, invited me to the Rover Park gathering. God, that feels like ages ago. But it was only 2 days ago. She asked me in the middle of class, Yeah, I, the misanthrope, went to those because of Monica. Monica's my polar opposite. She was tall, perfectly toned, but also somehow shapely. You know, the type of person you enjoy hating? And 2 years ago, when Monica handed me her flyer on the street, I had every intention of telling this drop dead gorgeous woman where she could shove it. I was really looking forward to it too, until I looked at her face. She was smiling at me. It was such a fragile expression, like she had to endure many years of pain to be able to smile at me that way. It just seemed wrong to tear it down. I had no intention of going. Threw her flyer away about 5 times along the way home. Somehow, it kept ending up back in my hands. When I did go, I told myself I was just going to confirm it was awful. But besides having to be around everyone else in the class, it wasn't bad. Monica made it quite nice to be at, actually. Still, once class was over, I had no intention of returning. But when I was leaving, Monica flashed that fragile smile at me again and thanked me for coming. Every week I tried to resist going, tried to stay home, but then I would picture her waiting there for me with that smile. I'm sure class would continue as usual without me, but what if there was a chance that my absence made her smile go away? Like clockwork, I was always 15 minutes early. Somewhere along the line, I started going to 2, then 3 classes a week. Suddenly, I was no longer pudgy. Sure, I was small and still built like a garden gnome, but a cute one that felt better about herself. There were plenty of sunshine girls like her in class, and yet she seemed to gravitate to me, the curmudgeon. Emily, she whispered while we were all in our bound half moons, I've got this ticket to the Rover Park gathering. It's in a private apple orchard. Will you be my +1? I knew from the tone of her voice that she had that smile on her face. I wanted to keep my eyes down, lie, say I had 5 a.m. plans. Who has 5 a.m. plans? But the sucker I am, I looked over and fell like I always did for Monica. Rover Park was beautiful. The gathering was set up on this clearing as big as a football field. It was surrounded on one side by the apple orchard with the reddest apples you could ever imagine, and the other side by woods. I felt deeply unsettled looking at it all and was confused as to why. I assumed it was the flocks of people getting out of their cars and heading over to the clearing, and my dread knowing we'd have to be amongst all of these strangers. But maybe I sensed something was wrong even then. I almost told Monica I wasn't feeling well and I was going to Uber home, but then she offered me one of her sweatshirts. It was chilly. Most people came with jackets. I came underprepared. She handed me a gray one. It smelled like chamomile tea. On the back was written, release the things that no longer serve you. You could feel the excitement as Mayor Laszlo stepped up onto the podium. He was a square-built, rosy-cheeked man that kind of looked like a penguin. Look around you, he commanded, and we did. Remember these faces. We came here as individuals, we leave as one. Mayor Laszlo's voice was dark, rich, commanding, destined for beautiful speeches. When the cheering died down, he continued, as individuals, we accomplish nothing. United, we conquer the world. Even more cheers. Monica grabbed my hand and swung it in the air as she screamed. I was too distracted by all the people smiling at me to scream with her. I was waiting for someone to make uncomfortable small talk with me so I would have an excuse to snap at them. It was early, and as I've mentioned, I'm not a people person. But that moment never came. The more Mayor Laszlo spoke, the more people cheered. The more the sense of connection swept over everyone, including antisocial me. I felt at one with nature, the world, and humanity. And that in itself should have been my first red flag because I'm a misanthrope through and through. Monica, you and me, we could change the world for the better, I said to her, without even a hint of the sardonic irony I'm famous for. I meant it. I was saying that crap and I wasn't even on drugs. When the sun peeked up past the horizon, so too started the impromptu dancing. Hundreds and hundreds of people swinging each other about and humming a tune that I also had stuck in my head. And it was in my head because it Wasn't like there was live or recorded music playing. I mean, it was as if we all had Bluetooth earpieces in and were listening to the same radio station. I remember thinking, how did they do that? How did these people hear the random tune in my head? We were connected. As the sun rose, they danced and seemed to be more and more taken over. The melody they hummed, the same song in my head, was so unified, as if they, these strangers, were a choir that had practiced for years. I didn't dance with them, but I did tie the her sweatshirt around my waist and bobbed my head along to the hums. I was a devout atheist, still am, especially after everything that happened. But at that moment, I felt like I was part of something greater than myself. I felt the presence of something and understood why religious fanatics get that weird glassy-eyed culty look when they are worshiping God. I'm sure my face wore that very look. But what we were experiencing wasn't God. It was a song of lies, like the sirens in the Odyssey. Maybe that's why I survived. I didn't fall completely for the song of oneness, because I very much loved being an individual. The spell was broken for me when I saw the mayor bite into a dancing woman's neck. It was far away and happened so quickly that I thought I might have imagined it. I did a double take. She was still smiling serenely, but the thoughts, doubts, and rationalizations of what I had just seen were loud enough that they diluted the song in my head. Then I watched Mayor Laszlo bite someone else, a man this time, and the woman whom the mayor had originally bitten dug her teeth into someone too, and their victims bit into the necks of other people. At that time, I didn't know that they were drawing blood. They were in the middle of the gathering, too far away. Plus, once bitten, the dancers started spinning ridiculously fast like they were ballerinas on meth. The bites continued, starting from the center of the gathering and Mayor Laszlo and spreading outwards on all sides. As the biting spread out, so did the people twirling like tops. Monica and I were on the outskirts of the gathering. She was blissfully unaware. Her eyes were closed and she smiled as if she were experiencing the world's best acid trip. I didn't want to wake her up, disturb the trip. I still doubted the wave of biting coming at us. I thought maybe it was some symbolic ritual that Monica had failed to prepare me for. My first moment of panic was when some of those infected were close enough for me to see their faces. Shit. I forgot to mention something. I think my mind tried to blot it out because it was so disturbing. Yes, the infected dancers would spin in unison, but occasionally they abruptly stop, also in unison. When the victims were near enough for me to make out details, I could tell something was wrong. Their faces were pale and sickly like they had the flu, but the more they spun, the more they changed. The more their skin changed. They started to look like putrid grapes. No, engorged ticks. And while they were spinning, some of these engorged things burst and their flesh soared through the air in every direction. What was left were people that looked like spinning meat spits. I just stood there dumbfounded. I mean, it was so absurd. Dear reader, if you're alive and able to read this, I'm sure you live in a time where you have conditioned yourself and see this new world as normal. But just a day ago, my world was very different, with very different norms. Seeing body parts spin off of people broke natural laws I didn't even know existed, until I saw bits and pieces of humanity flying through the air. Even if the group of us manages to survive, life will never be the same. Everyone I love is gone. My mom, my grandmother, my 3 cats. Even if the group of us manages to survive, life will never be the same. That's true. Life seemed fucked up at the time, but it's not really fucked up until you have your world completely destroyed. End of reading.
Whoa, Jeremy. Oh my gosh.
I did it. I read.
Did it. Oh my gosh. I was so into it. I guess I have to go buy your book now so I can figure out so I can know what happens. I'm sure everybody
Megan, you know what happens.
Who's on the chat is thinking the same thing. So if you're like me and you're like, oh my God, I'm all up in this world and I have to know what happens, then you got to buy the book to find out what happens. But great read, Jeremy. You
Thank
did
you,
a great
Megan.
job.
I was definitely getting a little bit of stage fright. So thank you guys for not throwing things at me. I don't think it's programmed for you to do that. So maybe you wanted to throw something.
No, that's the good thing about doing this virtually is nobody can throw anything at you.
Yes.
Not that they would want to. So for everybody who might have joined a little bit late, please make sure that you let us know that you're here in the comment section so that we can enter you into the raffle, which we're going to have right after we do a quick Q&A with Jeremy. And so now is the time that if you have questions for Jeremy, maybe something about his writing process or his process in writing the story or the inspiration for this story, please just put it in the comment section and I will check it out and present it to our man here. So while everybody is mulling all of that over, Jeremy, why don't you just tell us a little bit about the inspiration for this story?
It started with a freaky dream I had. Like everything that's in it happened in my dream. And I don't know, it was just so absurd that like I wanted to write it down.
So everything that happened was in your dream?
Well, everything in the story was.
Oh, every like.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to give batshit crazy things that happen away, but I mean,
no, don't give that away.
Yeah, but some crazy things happened. So I just wanted to. I wanted to write about it. It felt like something to write about, and also it was like a interesting challenge because the things that are in dreams are often absurd, right? Like they're absurd. So as a writer, I like the challenge of trying to put the absurd things into a world where they kind of make sense.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what makes it relatable, right? Is you're like, oh, okay, like this feels familiar, but it's also absurd. So
yeah, because I mean, like dreams are just symbols. So hopefully other people will be like, I don't understand this absurd stuff, but I kind of feel the symbolism underneath it, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we have a question from Robbie.
Robbie, I know Robbie. Oh,
you know
Robbie
from our writers group, the writers group that Jeremy and I are both in. And Robbie asked, did the current state of the world have an effect on this story?
No, I actually wrote this before, but it did affect when I released it. I actually had something else lined up to release before publish. And then because of everything that was happening, I was like, I think it's a good time to release this. Because I'm not going to get political, so don't worry, but like things are really stressful for everyone. And I think it's nice to see things get worse in stories. So you're at least meat zombies are not eating my face off.
Yes, I was actually thinking that while in your reading, I was like, things are pretty bad right now, but at least there's not human meat spits. Like, we're not quite there yet.
Not there yet.
So Bob, also from Writers Group, mentioned that he finds it ironic that we can't gather in public right now, but the gatherings are the evil in this story. And I was actually thinking that myself in the reading about how much I personally miss large gatherings right now. Like I love going to music festivals and going to concerts and everything. And one of the things that I really miss right now are going to large gatherings, but the idea of doing that right now is so petrifying to me that I would never do it. And so listening to your story, I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is half of me like I sympathized with the feelings that the main character was having in terms of like connecting to the crowd and like having this religious type experience with the crowd, and then having it kind of go south. I felt all those emotions.
It's weird because I connect with that with her now. But at the time of writing it, I was like, when you write, the character kind of talks to you. So I was getting to know her and I was like, it's really interesting that she had an issue with the gatherings even before. But like now after everything that's happened, like the last, not even few months, but the months that have gone by, like it totally makes sense. Like now the gatherings makes me uncomfortable too. But when I wrote it, I was like, are people going to be weirded out by the gatherings?
You just tapped into the future, Jeremy.
Not me.
I love it.
Not me.
I love it when our writer's subconscious taps into something. And
yeah, it's the writer's subconscious, the ether, the the whatever. I probably tapped
Yeah,
into that.
we don't even know how our, and that's why stories are so important, because we don't even know how they're going to help people or compel people or hit something within them, even if it's not the current situation. So we have a question from Ollie, who asked,
Ollie, I know Ollie from Instagram. She's my Instagram buddy. We're moving up the Instagram together.
all right, so welcome, Ollie. Thank you for your question.
Ooh, I'm ready for
Ollie
this.
asks, is there any deeper lore to the backstory of the gathering being planned? Will we ever get to find out about it?
Okay, so people have asked me that Reddit if I'm going to continue it into a longer story. Actually, Megan, we practiced this and you asked that question. Um, maybe I don't have any plans on writing anything now, but if I did write something, it would probably be from the perspective of other people that have gone through this. And when I write, I know this sounds really dumb, and for people who aren't writers, this might not make sense. So I'll try to explain it. But I don't always know everything either. But like as you write, the characters talk to you and they tell you things and you put things together. So there are things that I still don't know. So it'll be interesting to write more and get answers to it myself.
It's such a rich world that you've created, and I think it's a good sign that people are asking this question because they want more.
Thank you,
So
Megan.
yeah, just marinate in that, and then see what happens. So I have a question for
Yeah.
me personally, and I just wanted to know what it was like for you to write a story from a female's point of view, if that was weird or strange, or if you found it awkward, or kind of what that experience was like.
Well, this is interesting. When I started out acting, you know, and I went into the playwriting and everything. And this was years ago. I'm not going to age myself by giving you a time that I went to undergrad, but I was not compelled to write white straight dudes at the time. And I actually felt guilty about that. I thought at that time, being a kid, that like I wasn't a good writer if I couldn't write white straight dudes, white straight dude characters. But I also had no want to do that. So I was like, maybe down the line, I'll put myself into that or whatever. And you know, like I just had no interest in that. Like I really resonate with diverse voices, like LGBTQ, people of color, women. I think I don't know if that answers your question. So like I feel very comfortable in a female voice because part of me is female. Um, so I don't have any problems hearing the character talk to me. And I mean, I haven't had anybody say you didn't hit the female voice. So I'm hoping I'm doing it okay. But yeah,
Oh
no
yeah.
issues, no issues. Actually, I'd probably have more issues writing a dude still.
No, I thought you captured the female voice very well, which was one of the reasons why I wanted to ask that question. And I think when we write in a voice or write a character that's not doesn't fit our outward whatever we project outward to other people, as writers, I don't feel like we should be precluded from doing that,
Mm,
as long as we can do it authentically and feel like we're portraying that authentically to the readers, which I think you did very well, able to
thank you.
capture.
And I don't know how it is for you. I'm going to kind of put it back on you, Megan. But like, I always find it. This is what we do with Nobody Reads Short Stories. We have timers because we talk too much. But Megan, how do you feel about like writing characters that are outside of yourself? What do you get from it?
Oh, I love it. I always get a little nervous when I write male characters because I'm not a guy, and men are a bit of mystery to me, just in general. So, so I do find it a little intimidating, but I also find it a good challenge and a good, to think in a brain that's unlike my brain is really cool and interesting. And one of the reasons why I like writing is to get inside those different voices. So it is challenging, but I think that just makes me work harder and get it right.
I absolutely love that answer. That's why I write characters that are outside of myself because I want to grow as a human being. And I think that's why people read, is so that they can put themselves into shoes that are not their own. And I read a study that when you read, you actually become more empathetic, like as a person. So yeah, and I think that's what we're trying to do as writers, right, Megan?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I feel like now more than ever is the time to keep reading and keep
Totally.
putting yourself in other shoes and listening to other people's stories, because they're compelling, and you learn that you have a lot of similarities as well as differences.
So many similarities.
Yeah. Okay, so if we don't have any other questions, I think we can move on to the
Oh
raffle.
my God.
Are
Okay,
we ready?
before we do this, by the way, we got to give a shout out to Diana, who has this. What is that show? Is it Jeopardy? The one with the spinning wheel? Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah.
Okay, so Diana, my manager, created this Wheel of Fortune thing. It's going to be really cool. But I also want to show the books that are eligible for the raffle first. And I don't know, can they say in the comments which book they'd like once they win? Because I don't want to randomly choose for people unless that's not a possibility. But so there's this one, Mary Louise Parker.
Dear Mr. You.
Dear Mr. You. These are all some of my favorite reads. So I'm trying to give you books that I really like because I want to hear what you guys
What
think
did you like? What did you like about that book, Jeremy?
Oh, it's so good for the soul. So I heard that when she released this, it was supposed to be a memoir. And then the people, her publishers, were like, we're not going to release this as a memoir. And she's like, what the heck? That's what it is. And they were like, no, this is actually speaking to people's soul. It's very poetic. Not only is she an amazing actress, but she's a beautiful human being with a beautiful soul. And she does a great job of making you laugh. And then right at the next sentence, like you're crying happy tears or sad tears. Like it really grows you as a person. This is probably one of my favorite books of all time.
And just so everybody knows, it's a book of letters that she's written to different men in her life, and fictitious and real.
The next one is The Song of Achilles. Megan, do you remember how depressed I was after I read this?
Yes, but I didn't feel like you were super depressed. I just felt like you had gone through an emotional experience with that book.
Okay, well, maybe I'm being dramatic. I didn't read for 3 days after this book. 3 days.
Oh, I love that. I love it when you finish a book and you have like a book hangover and you're like, I just can't do another book right now. I just have to seep in the one I just read. I love that.
It was like I stared at the ceiling like I was in mourning. It was kind of like Dexter when his girlfriend died. And I'm not ruining anything because enough time has passed. But when his girlfriend died, what?
Spoilers.
No, it's been too long for that kind of spoiler. Anyway, so I was just like, I was done. I just didn't know what to do. It was just so moving. If you guys don't know, I'm sure everybody knows, The Song of Achilles is like a love story between two guys. Achilles is a demigod, which means he's half god. It's so well written. I just liked the cover, and then I read it, and I was like, oh my God, now I got to get Circe, because she also wrote Circe, and so far Circe is really good too. So I really recommend Madeline Miller. She's so good. All right, this is the last one that's not me. Megan, your turn to do some talking.
Max Brooks, Devolution, which Jeremy, I haven't read it, but Jeremy tells me that it's a dystopian future about Bigfoot.
It's now time.
Oh, it's
much.
now time. Oh, okay.
It's now time pretty much, but it is a dystopian story about Bigfoot. And I don't want to get into the backstory of Bigfoot. Basically, I have a stupid phobia of Bigfoot. If Bigfoot exists and I see it, I'm probably gonna just pee. But anyway, so I decided to read it because I like the cover, and Bigfoot scares me, so I thought it would be a really cool scary book since it's thriller/horror. I did not think it was going to be the greatest book of all time or anything, and I started reading it, and it's actually really, 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 really good. It's like Michael Crichton, like when Michael Crichton was like super rock solid, like Jurassic Park. He does a similar thing, Max Brooks, where it's less about Bigfoot and more about how people deteriorate under stressful circumstances, and you get to actually see how people really are. So be ready on the raffle to comment if you win and tell me which book you want, because I want you guys to be really excited about this. Oh, also, if you get the raffle, you have to tell me what you thought of the book. That is a demand.
You have to. He's going to give you homework if you win the raffle. That's what it sounds like.
We probably all the listeners are probably gone now. They're like, oh my God, he's too much.
So really quickly, Robbie wants to know: do you read every day? Do you read a book, a script, a play? Do you read every day?
No, I don't. I have binges. Like I have binges where I just like devour a book after a book after a book. But sometimes I have this thing where I just can't anymore, and then I'll watch like a documentary on TV or just watch something. But I prefer books to TV and stuff. I hope I answered the question. Thank you, Robbie.
You did? Yeah. All right, and then the very last raffle will be
my book.
Woohoo! There it is in its physical form, guys. Look how beautiful that is.
Yeah, if you haven't read in a while and you're like, I just want to say that I read a book. Like, look at this guy. Look at this guy. Yeah, so that's the other one. And you guys will know, you guys probably already know the synopsis of this. So batshit crazy things happen. There.
All right, so I think we're ready for the first raffle.
Oh, I'm excited.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, this is so cool.
Oh, Lisa! Woohoo, Lisa!
You know Lisa. Megan and I know Lisa. She is part of our writers community. She's a brilliant writer. Lisa, comment what book you like.
Yeah, so you get the choice, Lisa, between Dear Mr. You by Mary Louise Parker, Devolution by Max Brooks, or Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. And there might
be a lag.
Be a slight delay with the comments. So Lisa's like, oh my gosh, I'm on the spot. What do I do? I
Everybody's waiting on you, Lisa. Hurry up.
I can't
Lisa,
make a decision.
I'm gonna do an impression of Lisa really fast. She's probably like this. I love Lisa.
Okay, so I think we might why don't you pick for Lisa?
Like pick for Lisa.
I think Lisa would trust your
We're gonna say Dear Mr. You. I think the book for
Lisa.
Lisa
would love that. Yeah, absolutely.
And Lisa, this isn't going into your mail. I'm going to come to your house with a mask and gloves and leave it on your doorstep. So you gotta text me your address.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we're ready for the second raffle. Here we go.
All right, be ready to comment, y'all. 2 left, well, 3. Christopher, you almost had it the first time, but now you got it.
Woohoo!
Hey, Christopher Dean, which book are we doing? The Song of Achilles or Devolution or The Gatherings?
Maybe Chris had to step away. Maybe
you know what? I'm just gonna pick for people.
I think you should choose for people. Like, it's your book.
So this one was in my hand, and I grabbed onto it harder when his name was chosen. So I'm gonna say I had a psychic moment. We're gonna do Evolution for Christopher Dean.
All right, good job, Chris.
Good job, Chris.
Okay, so the last one of other people's books. Here we go.
All right, somebody get lucky.
Somebody's gonna get Song of Achilles. Who is it?
Robbie!
Robbie! Woohoo!
Oh my God, this is hilarious. Robbie, you
probably. Oh my gosh.
You would probably have never ever read this book. So yeah, now you have to. Sorry.
This is amazing. Yes, and Robbie, you do have to bring your book review to our writers group and read it out loud.
Oh my God, I love this. This is perfect for Robbie. I love it. It's perfect because it's not perfect.
All right, so now we have the grand prize raffle, which is your very own copy, hot off the presses, of Jeremy's book, The Gatherings. So here we go. Who's gonna get it? I'm jealous. My name's not in there. Oh, all right.
Ollie, you're going to get this in the mail.
Oh my gosh. So for everyone who didn't get a book, and particularly those of you who don't have a copy of Jeremy's book, The Gathering, that's so easy to remedy. You just go to Amazon and you buy it like right now. So even before we end and we wrap up, like it's so easy to get things off of Amazon. So you just go there, click the button, get it shipped right to you. It'll be there, super easy, and you'll have your very own copy of Jeremy Ray's first book. This is so exciting.
And before we go, I just wanted to say how I love how cute and small this was. It's so cool. So thank you all for being here for my first release. Congrats on your wins, and thank you for being so patient and listening to me, like, blabber.
Yes, thank you all so much for coming out, and make sure that you buy Jeremy's book, and make sure you check out his website, jeremyraystories.com, and see all the other wonderful things that Jeremy's up to. Thank you for your support.
And if you like books, you should check out our short story podcast, nobodyreadshortstories.com, and we have it on YouTube, Spotify, and
Stitcher, and iTunes, and Apple Podcasts.
All right, I think we're done.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. You guys are awesome.